Yeah, I just thought I'd take the original presentation that I did for my application video in 2022 and then go through and update it a little bit. So I'm James Byrne. I'm a research software engineer at the British Antarctic Survey. This was actually the slide that I used the first time around when I applied. So I said I used to sit in the AI lab and used to work very closely with IT, and I had a passion for open source and infrastructure development. In 2024, not much has changed. I'm now an RSC lead, so we've hired some RSCs as of starting last year. We've actually created a team for the RSCs, so we're now sort of working across various different stakeholders within BAS. But my passions basically remain the same. They haven't changed much. My face and my photos have. This is what I used to do in 2022, which was working specifically on AI-led projects, data science-led projects, and trying to advertise the use of software engineering, sustainable software engineering across various research and operational domains, and trying to promote the SSI within the organisation. A lot of what we did at BAS was looking at the long-term viability of digital twins, and we collaborated a lot with the Turing, specifically on sea ice forecasting at the time. In 2024, quite a bit has changed, but I'm still advocating for software engineering across research and operational domains and trying to increase outreach. But there's a lot more in the way of collaboration internally and externally. So it's really identifying, a lot of what I do now is trying to identify how the internal community can be coalesced in a way and promoted, or a more community-led approach to software development and digital infrastructure can be generated internally. That's led to a lot of visibility of like what's happening in the Natural Environment Research Council, who BAS sit under, as well as wider concerns like the SSI itself, or different user bases, so conservation user bases, even policymakers. The Turing we still do an awful lot of work with, but it's a lot more broadly just around digital research infrastructure and how that might underpin digital twins in the future. So we've become a bit wiser about what is realistically going to happen. I've stuck a couple of photos in there because a big part of this generating community has been around running events. So carpentry is a great one. We've done an official, we did one of the official lessons recently. We did an incubator lesson, the Python for Atmospheric and Ocean Sciences. That was really, really good. I'm definitely interested in what Colin's been chatting about, but Colin and I talk occasionally anyway. I also run drop-in sessions, which have proven to be really nice because actually part of the software out, or what part of the software outreach is just letting people know why they should care about sustainable software or software engineering, or whichever software domain you want to pick that people don't necessarily know about, and just getting people to ask questions is a really good way. So 2024, not a lot's changed, it's just got bigger. But my fellowship plans were split into three. So one was acting as a public BAS champion of software and polar science. The second plan that I had in my original application was around publicising BAS open source efforts and our research. And then thirdly, it was around contributing and adopting community approaches. So I changed the third one a little bit. It used to say just tooling, because I was very focused on the technology, whereas now I realise there's a lot more to do with community-led approaches. During the fellowship, like there's been quite a few things that I tried to do. One of the original plans was to run a conference or webinar type thing in a hybrid fashion in BAS. So that was actually called Software and Polar Science, and we ran it in last month. And after some aborted attempts last year trying to get it planned, just due to time constraints, Sharope was very kind and came along and did the keynote and a panel discussion. As I say, we've done a lot of internal engagement. So we created a few of us within BAS created something called the Technical Development Community, just to try and publicise a very open and informal community within BAS where digital practitioners could get together. in terms of the SSI, so publicising what I've been doing, I've sort of got about 10 SSI direct outputs. I counted them recently, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to do a blog post to justify the expenditure that I had for running the conference. So I've written a couple of additional blog posts that are in process, so that lists all the outputs. I've also done quite a few talks around using software engineering principles and architectural designs within the environmental sciences. Always try and champion software sustainability when I'm doing that, as absolutely critical for having long-term maintainable infrastructure and practices. And looking at community-led approaches, like I say, so these are a work in progress, but like I say, we've created a few different avenues and hopefully more to come on that. So hopefully that is sort of a nice round off of what I was intending on doing in the fellowship, actually translated into activities I actually did. But what I have really understood is that I don't think I'm ever going to stop being an SSI fellow in spirit, if not in practice. And I wouldn't want to be honest. I think it's given me a real course lever for championing software within the polar research community, but also more broadly and where the crossovers might be. A future plan for that is just realizing the value of this blogs, writings, things that communicate like how we're going about doing things. So like I say, there's a couple in the SSI pipeline, there's hopefully more to come, and now we've got a little team of RSEs, hopefully a bit more bandwidth to write stuff, and that really feeds into learning and then sharing what I learn. I think as I'm getting older, it's much nicer just to sort of try and teach people sort of things that I might have picked up in many years of software engineering and development. So yeah, and then I'm going to continue working on software engineering as a practice and an accessible career for people, both internally in the organisation, but also helping people with the experiences of setting up a team of software engineers. So I'm going to try and have fun while doing all of this, which I think is the most important thing for a sustainable career. So yeah, go for Q&A. I hopefully ran through that in good order. I don't seem to be able to stop my share. Has it stopped, Oscar?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, it's not stopped on my computer, but that's okay. Good old Zoom.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And yes, it is. At SSI, we do indeed say once a fellow, always a fellow. So you won't get rid of us that easily as well. But thank you very much for your talk. Are there any immediate questions? I see. Yeah.
Thanks, James. That was really nice to see that talk. I'd just about forgotten, but in 2018, I remember that Sammy Buzzard was an SSI fellow working on polar science. And your talk reminded me, because I actually have a nice snood that she gave me that has like a polar bear. But I wondered if she's still around, if you work with her at all.
So what was the name? Sorry, was it Sammy?
Sammy Buzzard or Samantha Buzzard?
Samantha Buzzard. I'm afraid I don't know her, unfortunately. Was she at the Antarctic survey? Because quite a few people are doing polar research outside of the survey itself. So
yeah, I don't know. I know I gave a talk in UCL. Thank you, Oscar.
Lovely. Cheers. I'll have a look.
Yeah, but she's super nice if you ever do encounter her.
Thanks. I will see.
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, it was a great day at the Software and Polar Research. Meeting everyone, seeing what's happening. Yeah, I tried to get the AMOP stuff as a keynote, but I think the slot was already taken.
Oh yeah.
But I think definitely that stuff needs highlighting. It's for those who don't know, it's like let's see if I get this right. It's like a route planning for ships, so that it decreases. It's not about speed, it's about decreasing the amount of fuel that it uses, but mainly for the main purpose of decreasing the amount of carbon output. It's very very interesting, very cool.
It's a big endeavour. So there's as you say, polar routing, efficient polar routing of the Sir David Attenborough, the big research vessel, but then also small submersibles. So Colin has had quite a bit of exposure to this sort of thing. Boating with boat face, exactly. So the little submersibles can also be routed, and they're also working on itinerary planning, so actual sort of optimization of season plans as well, so that you can be sure that you're meeting your scientific objectives in the most efficient way. So there's an awful lot of projects going on at BAS. It's really fun.
Yeah, really interesting.
And massive thanks, Ray. It was really good to have you along.
No problem, my pleasure. And if you ever visit, you got to take a photo of yourself sitting on that, what's it called again? That motorbike.
Oh, the skidoos.
The skidoo.
Yeah,
they have one in the doorway, and so in the lobby, so you can take a photo on them.
They're great fun, but of course driven responsibly, as I'm aware we're being recorded.
Thank you. Yeah, that skidoo looked very great. A reason to come. I was wondering, you mentioned the environmental digital twins. If you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting sort of concept. I mean, digital twins come from engineering, really, originally, which are basically digital representations of real world systems with the ability to then feed back into the real world system. But we're looking at them in the environmental science domain now. As ways of informing people, say policymakers or people who are actually undertaking some kind of activity within the real world. We're looking at how we bind together all of these component systems like data and process models or other operational systems, how we collectively make those interoperable so that you can ask the what if questions associated with, say, doing deployments or deploying sensors or changing the climate or all of the really big questions. So environmental digital twins are a very big kind of long-term goal, but it really drives the need for interoperable and sustainable components and systems that can be integrated together. In short, hopefully that was short enough and I didn't murder the explanation too much.
No, that was very clear. Thank you. Any other questions?